Did you know that Hawaii had a volcano that erupted for 35 years straight? Or that there are green sand beaches here? How about the fact that the world's longest lava tube cave calls Hawaii home? Well, Hawaii is full of crazy facts like this, and we have 50 of them for you. So sit back and relax while we get right into it. Fact 50: 35 years of continuous eruption. Talk about dedication. Kilauea's Pu'u'o eruption holds the record for volcanic persistence. It erupted almost non-stop for 35 years, from 1983 to 2018. This volcano was relentless, releasing over 4.4 cubic kilometers of lava and literally creating miles of new land. While the lava flows weren't always friendly, destroying homes and roads along the way, they also formed new black sand beaches and expanded the Big Island's coastline. This marathon eruption made history as one of the longest continuous volcanic events ever. The grand finale came in 2018, when a dramatic summit collapse finally ended this absurd geological display. Fact 49: ancient Maui mega island, Maui Nui. Maui used to have some seriously bigger siblings. During the last ice age, around 18,000 years ago, what we now call Maui, Molokai, Lanai, and Kahulawe were actually one massive super island that scientists dubbed Maui Nui. With sea levels 400 feet lower thanks to all that water locked up in glaciers, these landmasses formed a continuous giant that was 50% bigger than today's Big Island. You could literally hike from modern-day Hana all the way to western Molokai without getting your feet wet. When the glaciers melted and seas rose, this mega island slowly drowned, splitting into the separate islands we know today around 10,000 years ago. Fact 48: most isolated population center on Earth. Want to talk about living in the middle of nowhere? Well, we have you covered. Hawaii officially holds the title of the world's most geographically isolated population center. Picture this: 2,390 miles from California, nearly 4,000 miles from Japan, floating alone in the Pacific Ocean with absolutely no nearby continents for company. This isn't just a fun geographic fact. This extreme isolation has shaped everything about the islands, from their weird species to their unique culture. Think about it. Literally everything that's ever reached Hawaii, ancient birds, Polynesian settlers, your morning coffee, survived an epic ocean journey of thousands of miles. Fact 47: world-class stargazing at 14,000 feet. Hawaii's remote location actually gives it a major advantage. Some of the best stargazing in the world. At 13,803 feet, the summit of Mauna Kea is home to more than a dozen top-notch telescopes, and it's easy to see why. This volcanic mountain sits above 40% of the Earth's atmosphere, with little light pollution or moisture, making it perfect for observing the stars. It's even been chosen for the massive 30-meter telescope project. During the day, you can look down and see clouds floating below you, and at night, you can gaze deep into distant galaxies. Fact 46: green sand beach rarity. The Big Island just keeps getting crazier. This place has a beach that literally sparkles emerald green. Papakolea Beach at South Point is one of only 4 green sand beaches on the entire planet, making it rarer than finding a decent parking spot in Waikiki. This geological marvel gets its olive green sparkle from olivine, a crystal mineral abundant in Hawaiian lava that looks like crushed gems. The beach itself is actually a sunken cinder cone that waves have been slowly eroding, leaving behind concentrated olivine grains. Here's the kicker: checking out the sand is free, but pocketing even a handful as a souvenir is both illegal and considered seriously bad luck in Hawaiian culture. So, probably best to just Instagram it. Fact 46: no snakes or big predators. Hawaii developed without any native land predators. No snakes, no big cats, no wolves, nothing. In fact, bringing snakes to Hawaii is illegal. The only land mammal native to the islands is a tiny bat called the Hawaiian hoary bat. Everything else with fur, like pigs, dogs, cattle, and even rats, came with humans. Without predators to worry about, Hawaii's birds became pretty relaxed. Some even forgot how to fly. But here's the downside: this predator-free paradise created a very delicate ecosystem, and invasive species can completely mess it up. It's like a gated community in nature. It's beautiful, but one unwanted guest can cause big problems. Fact 45: Extinction capital of the world. So we know that Hawaii's isolation created a unique paradise, but there's a plot twist. it also made everything incredibly fragile. Hawaii has sadly earned the rather unwelcome nickname of Extinction Capital of the World, having lost more species than any other US state. We're talking about scores of native birds, plants, and snails that have vanished forever, victims of habitat loss and those pesky invasive species we mentioned before. Here's the kicker. Despite being just a tiny chain of islands, Hawaii is now home to over 25% of America's endangered species. Fact 44. Big Island, bigger than all the rest. When they named it the Big Island, they weren't kidding around. At 4,028 square miles, Hawaii's Big Island is absolutely massive. We're talking bigger than all the other Hawaiian islands combined. Put this in perspective, you could literally stuff Oahu, Maui, Kauai, and every other island into the Big Island's borders and still have room left over for a decent-sized parking lot. The Big Island makes up a whopping 63% of the entire archipelago's landmass. Guess what? It's still growing thanks to those active volcanoes. So its dominance over its smaller siblings just keeps going up. Fact 43. Northernmost coral atoll on Earth. Way out at the far end of the Hawaiian chain sits a world record holder you probably never heard of. Pure Atoll, officially the planet's northernmost coral atoll. This oval-shaped, nearly perfect 6-mile-wide ring of reefs sits at the absolute edge of where corals can survive. Any farther north and they'd throw in the towel. Picture a shallow turquoise lagoon surrounded by reef, with one tiny island called Green Island barely poking above the waves. Here's the wacky part. Pure is so remote that it's over 1,500 miles from Honolulu, making it closer to Midway than to mainstream Hawaii. The corals here are literally fighting for survival, just barely keeping pace with erosion and the slow sinking of their volcanic foundation. It's the final frontier of Hawaiian coral life, now serving as a critical nesting sanctuary for seabirds and seals. Fact 42. High-altitude lake at 13,000 feet. Picture this, you're trekking through a Mars-like desert of volcanic cinder at 13,000 feet. And suddenly, surprise, there's a lake. Meet Lake Waiau, perched at 13,020 feet on Mauna Kea's summit, making it one of America's highest lakes. This little guy is about 100 meters across, but it's pulling off the impossible, being a permanent alpine lake smack dab in the tropics. Hawaiian culture considers it sacred, while scientists scratch their heads over how permafrost and groundwater create this oasis in such a dry moonscape. The altitude is so extreme that only the hardiest insects and occasional brave bird dare visit this sky pond. Definitely no fish up there. Fact 41. Glistening Diamond Crater. One of history's biggest mistakes led to the glittering name of Honolulu's famous Diamond Head Crater. In the 19th century, British sailors climbed this extinct volcano and thought they'd struck it rich when they saw sparkling crystals in the rock. They believed they'd found diamonds, but in reality, those precious gems were just sparkling volcanic calcite, not valuable at all, more like shiny beach pebbles. Even so, the name Diamond Head stuck. Today, hikers can still see those sparkling crystals in the crater walls, a reminder of how some very optimistic sailors misnamed Hawaii's most iconic landmark. Fact 40. Volcanic Archipelago Factory. The Hawaiian Islands operate like nature's ultimate assembly line. Deep beneath the Pacific sits a fixed hotspot. Imagine a stationary blowtorch, while the Pacific Plate creeps northwest at 2 to 4 inches yearly like a conveyor belt. New volcanoes punch through the crust over this hotspot, create islands, then get carried away as the plate moves. This hotspot has been cranking out volcanoes for 80 million years, producing a chain of 129 volcanic peaks stretching across the Pacific. That's why islands age as you head northwest. The Big Island is actively forming. Oahu is 3 million years old, while distant Midway clocks in at 28 million years. Fact 39. Late arrival of people. Here's a mind blower. Even though Hawaii is famous for its Polynesian roots, it was one of the last places on Earth to be settled by humans. Archaeological evidence shows that Polynesians didn't arrive until around the 13th century AD, which is only about 800 years ago. To put that into perspective, while Europeans were busy building grand cathedrals, Hawaii's beautiful valleys, untouched beaches, and active volcanoes had never seen a human. For thousands of years, this paradise existed completely alone until those remarkable Polynesian navigators showed up, using just the stars, ocean waves, and their amazing skills to find it. Fact 38. Snow in the tropics. Believe it or not, despite what vacation brochures and Hollywood movies might say, it does snow in Hawaii. The Big Island's towering peaks, Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa, both around 13,800 feet, along with Maui's Halakalas at 10,023 feet, regularly get snow several times each winter. And we're not talking about a light dusting. Mauna Kea has been covered with a full foot of snow during strong winter storms. Some adventurous locals even snowboard and ski there. Imagine this. You could hit the slopes on Mauna Kea in the morning and then drive down to catch some waves that same afternoon. Hawaii is the only tropical state with snow-capped mountains, and it's a surreal sight with palm trees swaying just 50 miles below. Fact 37. The Great Hawaiian Bend. Ever wonder why the Hawaiian island chain takes a sharp turn in the middle of the Pacific? That bend isn't random. It's a geological feature known as the Hawaiian Emperor Bend. This 60-degree twist in the undersea mountain range tells an incredible story. About 47 million years ago, the massive Pacific plate suddenly changed direction. Before that, it was moving almost due north, creating the Emperor Seamounts. Then, out of nowhere, it shifted to the northwest, starting the formation of the Hawaiian Islands we know today. It's like Earth's tectonic plates hit the brakes and made a hard turn, leaving a permanent corner on the ocean floor. Fact 36. Steepest shores. No continental shelf. Let's talk about some extreme drop-offs because Hawaii definitely doesn't do things the easy way. While other places might have slight slopes into deeper water, Hawaii's volcanic islands basically tell the ocean floor to take a dive. There's hardly any continental shelf here, just a huge drop of over 18,000 feet into the deep sea just a few miles offshore. Here's the wild part. The Big Island is so heavy that it actually bends Earth's crust beneath it, creating a depression that makes the surrounding waters even deeper. It's like placing a bowling ball on a trampoline, causing the surface to sag and form a deep trough around the islands. So next time you're snorkeling in Hawaii's calm waters, just remember that right beyond them is a deep sea abyss that would make your head spin. Fact 35. World's longest lava tube cave. We're not done with the Big Island just yet, because beneath the surface lies something truly wild. Kazumura Cave, the longest lava tube in the world. This underground giant stretches an incredible 40.7 miles, long enough to span the entire width of Oahu. The cave drops an amazing 3,614 feet from top to bottom, making it a true three-dimensional maze. Picture walking through the remnants of an ancient underground lava river, with lava falls where molten rock once cascaded like rivers of fire. This natural marvel wasn't built by humans. It was simply shaped by flowing lava, making it nature's own underground highway system. Fact 34. The Channel of Bones. Between the Big Island and Maui lies a 30-mile stretch of water that even experienced sailors dread, the Alanuihaha Channel. The name literally means Great Billows Smashing, which pretty much sums it up. Trade winds blast through this gap like a wind tunnel, slamming into strong currents and underwater ridges to create pure chaos on the water. Picture waves coming from all directions, smashing together, turning the channel into a giant nautical washing machine that's claimed countless boats over the years. Even the skilled Polynesian navigators, who could sail across huge oceans using just the stars, often avoided this treacherous stretch. Today, sailors call it Hawaii's mini Cape Horn, and when you fly over it at 30,000 feet, you're gliding safely above some of the Pacific's most violent waters. Fact 33. America's longest coral reef. Hawaii isn't just volcanic rock. It's also home to America's longest continuous fringing reef. Off Molokai's south shore stretches an impressive 28 to 30-mile coral reef so massive, you can actually see its turquoise outline from space. Ancient Hawaiian fish ponds mix in perfectly with the reef system, and this underwater paradise is filled with fish, sea turtles, and monk seals. Despite not being known as well as Australia, Molokai's Great Barrier Reef is a true national treasure that offers massive coral gardens and snorkeling opportunities that are unmatched in the United States. Fact 32. Coffee, cocoa, and clouds. Ready for this? Hawaii is literally the only US state that can pull off growing commercial coffee, making your morning Kona brew the most patriotic cup of joe in America. Those Big Island volcanic soils combined with perfect mountain rainfall create coffee growing conditions that the other 49 states can only dream about. But coffee is just the beginning. Hawaii also grows commercial cocoa for chocolate, plus vanilla and exotic tropical fruits that would laugh at any attempt to grow them in, say, Kansas. It's like having America's own private tropical greenhouse, capable of producing world-class flavors that simply can't grow anywhere else in the country. Fact 31. Toxic lava rain. Lays. Hawaii's volcanic eruptions create some pretty bizarre hazards that go beyond just lava. When hot lava hits the ocean, it quickly turns the seawater into a thick white plume known as lays, short for lava haze. This stuff is seriously dangerous. It contains hydrochloric acid from the vaporized seawater and tiny volcanic glass particles that can damage your lungs. During Kilauea's 2018 eruption, officials warned people to stay miles downwind to avoid breathing in this harsh, glassy steam. And then there's VOG, volcanic smog. When sulfur dioxide mixes with the air, it forms a hazy blanket that drifts between the islands, making it hard to breathe and blocking out the Hawaiian sunshine. Only in Hawaii would you hear weather reports that include both surf conditions and VOG alerts. Fact 30. Waimea Canyon, Grand Canyon of the Pacific. Kauai has its own version of the Grand Canyon, and it's just as impressive. Known as the Grand Canyon of the Pacific, Waimea Canyon stretches 10 miles long, up to 2 miles wide, and drops 3,600 feet deep. It was carved by the steady flow of the Waimea River and Kauai's heavy rainfall. The canyon walls explode with rich reds, oranges, and browns, with patches of emerald green that shift as the clouds move overhead. The secret to this beauty? Kauai is around 5 million years old, so erosion has had plenty of time to shape it into what we see today. From any viewpoint, you'll see waterfalls cascading down the canyon, often with rainbows forming in the mist. It's like Arizona's desert, but wrapped in Hawaii's tropical beauty. Fact 29. Halakalas alien environment. Maui's Halakala crater feels so unreal that it's like stepping onto another planet. This giant, dormant volcano crater is 3,000 feet deep, 7.5 miles long, and 2.5 miles wide. What's even crazier is that it wasn't formed by a massive eruption, but instead by millions of years of erosion slowly carving away at the mountain's summit. Standing on the rim at sunrise, watching the Earth emerge from a sea of clouds below, kind of feels like witnessing the beginning of the world. Fact 28. Molokai Monster Waterfalls. Beneath the imposing sea cliffs of Molokai lies an astounding secret: the Olaupena Falls. It's a narrow ribbon of water that plunges 2,953 feet straight into the ocean. We're talking about nearly 3 Eiffel Towers stacked on top of one another. To put that into perspective, this giant ranks as the world's 4th tallest waterfall. Yet it's so ridiculously remote that you can only catch it from a boat or helicopter as it falls down the cliff face in multiple tiers. Molokai actually has several of these monsters, including nearby Pu'ukaoka Falls at 2,755 feet. The element that's kept a secret? Continuous rain on some of the wettest cliffs on Earth, which means that all of the water has nowhere to go but straight down in a wild fashion. Fact 27. The 1,600-foot wave. Imagine this terrifying scenario. About 120,000 years ago, a mega tsunami over 1,600 feet tall completely wiped out Hawaii's coastlines. Triggered by a huge volcanic landslide known as Alika 2, this monster wave, picture a 160-story building made of water, surged 4 miles inland on the Big Island. It left coral rubble and shells scattered hundreds of feet up on mountainsides. Scientists figured all this out by matching marine debris to the landside's timing. The wave would have wiped out nearly all life along the affected shores. Luckily, mega tsunamis like this one only happen once every 100,000 years. But it's a scary reminder that Hawaii's calm paradise has seen some of nature's most extreme events throughout its volcanic history. Fact 26. Island that disappeared in a day. Beyond East Island's hurricane erasure, which we'll talk about soon, entire volcanic Hawaiian islands have simply vanished beneath the waves over millions of years. Take Puhahonu, Gardner Pinnacles. Recent studies reveal it was Earth's largest shield volcano, even bigger than Mauna Loa by volume. Today, just a couple of pathetic rocks poking above water. All those northwestern Hawaiian islands are basically tombstones. The last gasps of once mighty landmasses now reduced to atolls and shoals. The Big Island continues this self-destruction game with actively collapsing coastlines, like the Helena slump, which generated a tsunami back in 1868. Geologists monitor these potential collapse zones since they can trigger megawaves. Hawaii's ultimate irony? While building new land with lava, it's simultaneously committing geological suicide. The price of volcanic paradise? Eventually sinking into watery retirement. Fact 25. Rainbow of beach sands. Hawaii's beaches are like a painter's palette, with nearly every color you can imagine. Beyond the usual postcard-perfect white sand, you'll find pitch-black beaches made from broken basalt lava, like Punalua on the Big Island. There's also Papakolea with its emerald green sands, Kaihululu on Maui with its crimson red sand thanks to iron-rich cinder, and even Papohaku on Molokai west coast, where the sand has an orange hue, especially at sunset. Each color tells a volcanic story. Black fragments from cooling lava, green olivine crystals, red volcanic clay, and orange sand from coral mixed with iron oxide. No other place in the US offers this kind of beach variety. You could start your day on a black volcanic beach and end it on a golden white coral one. It's like hopping between different worlds without ever leaving paradise. Fact 24. Tsunami of 1946. Sadly, April Fool's Day in 1946 didn't bring any laughs to Hawaii. Instead, it brought one of the island's deadliest natural disasters. A massive earthquake in the Aleutian Islands triggered a tsunami that raced across the Pacific, hitting Hawaii with waves as tall as 55 feet, 17 meters. In Hilo Bay, the ocean first pulled back ominously, then crashed back in multiple waves during the early morning, catching people completely by surprise. The waves wiped out entire buildings and claimed 159 lives. This tragedy led to the creation of the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, as scientists realized Hawaii needed better warning systems for distant earthquakes. Today, as you walk through Hilo, you'll see tsunami zone signs and monuments, stark reminders that even in paradise, danger can come from the huge Pacific just offshore. Fact 23. The Forbidden Footprints. One of Hawaii's spookiest relics is a set of 200-year-old human footprints, perfectly preserved in volcanic ash in the Big Island's Kauai Desert. These footprints were left by native Hawaiians who raced barefoot through the ashfall during Kilauea's explosive 1790 eruption, likely warriors fleeing from Chief Kiowa's army. As they ran to escape the volcanic eruption, their footprints hardened into permanent impressions, which are still visible today. You can literally stand in the same spot they did centuries ago, seeing individual toe and heel marks pressed into the ground. Tragically, many of these runners didn't survive the eruption's toxic gases, turning this site into a natural memorial. The Kauai Desert isn't technically a real desert, but the acid rain and ash make it so harsh that little can grow here. It's like fossilized panic, a moment of fear and survival frozen in time on Hawaii's volcanic land. Fact 22. The Silver Sword Bloom. High on Halakalas summit grows something that looks completely alien. The Halakalas silver sword, a rare plant with spiky leaves covered in silver hairs that reflect UV rays and conserve precious water in the cold alpine desert. But here's the absolutely mind-blowing part. These plants can live up to 50 years, spending decades growing, yet they bloom only once in their entire lifetime. When that moment finally arrives, the silver sword explodes into a 6-foot flower stalk with hundreds of purple blossoms, then promptly dies. Finding a blooming silver sword is like witnessing a natural supernova, a once-in-a-lifetime show performed by a plant that patiently saved up half a century's worth of energy for one magnificent, suicidal burst of glory. Fact 21. Ancient kingdoms underwater. Believe it or not, the Hawaiian Islands you see today are just the tip of a massive volcanic iceberg. Stretching northwest for thousands of miles lies a chain of over 80 extinct volcanoes, the Emperor Seamounts, that were once towering islands but have since sunk back beneath the Pacific. Here's how it works. Volcanoes are born over the Hawaiian hotspot, then get carried northwest by the moving Pacific plate, slowly eroding and sinking as they drift away from their volcanic birthplace. Some of Oahu's famous reefs, including Pearl Harbor's entrance, are actually ancient volcano tops now covered in coral. At the chain's far end sits Detroit Seamount, a whopping 81 million years old. The current Hawaiian Islands are just the latest chapter in this geological story, and they're slowly heading toward the same watery fate as their sunken siblings. Fact 20. Largest marine preserve on Earth. Almost. Surrounding the remote northwestern Hawaiian Islands lies an absolutely massive protected zone, Papahanua Mokuakea Marine National Monument. At 582,578 square miles, this oceanic sanctuary is larger than all U.S. national parks combined. Picture Germany, France, and the UK rolled into one giant marine preserve. Countless seabirds, green sea turtles, endangered Hawaiian monk seals, and pristine coral atolls like Luzon, Midway, and Cure are all protected in this underwater wonderland. Despite being so absurdly far away that most people would never visit, it is an essential living laboratory of Pacific biodiversity. The area's cultural significance is reflected in the name itself, which commemorates Hawaiian creation gods. Fact 19. Growing bigger every day. Here's something your geography teacher never mentioned. Hawaii is literally still under construction. The Big Island remains the only place in America that's actively expanding its real estate portfolio, thanks to Kilauea and Mauna Loa's never-ending volcanic productivity. Between 1983 and 2018, these overachieving volcanoes added nearly 900 acres of brand new land. That's over 500 football fields of prime oceanfront property. No mortgage required. During 2018's Lower East Rift eruption alone, about 875 acres of coastline got a complete makeover, as lava filled bays and built new cliffs. The star of the show? Pohoiki's new black sand beach, which appeared practically overnight when lava decided to redecorate the coastline. It's both humbling and mesmerizing to watch Mother Nature's ultimate home improvement projects in real time. Fact 18. 10 climate zones, 1 island. The Big Island is basically Earth's climate sampler platter. Despite being just 1 island, it somehow manages to cram 10 of the world's 14 climate zones into its borders. Everything except continental polar conditions. In a single day's drive, you can experience tropical rainforest around Hilo, near Arctic conditions on top of Mauna Kea, dry desert along the Kona coast, foggy temperate forests in Waimea, and monsoon-soaked jungles in between. How does this climate chaos work? Those towering volcanic peaks act like giant rain catchers, wringing moisture from clouds on the windward side, while creating bone-dry rain shadows on the sheltered slopes. Add in massive elevation changes, and you get this wild result. Tropical fruits thriving at sea level, while tea plants and pine trees flourish in the chilly highlands. Fact 17. Wettest spot versus dry nearby. Meet Mount Wali Ali on Kauai, one of Earth's absolute soggiest places. This 5,148-foot shield volcano averages an outrageous 450 inches of rain annually. That's over 37 feet of water. In 1982, it shattered records by catching 666 inches, earning its Hawaiian name meaning rippling or overflowing water. The summit is always covered in clouds, dripping with mosses and bogs like nature's own greenhouse. But here's the kicker. Just a few miles away, on Kauai's protected side, the land gets a measly 10 to 20 inches per year. The difference is absurd. Emerald jungle on one side, bone-dry red dirt on the other. Trade winds dump their entire moisture load on the northeast slopes, then cruise over the southwest with empty pockets. Fact 16. Molokai's Sea Cliff Secret. Take a look at the Guinness World Records and you'll find that the world's tallest sea cliffs, rising more than 3,000 feet straight up from the Pacific, are a secret hidden along the isolated north coast of Molokai. These emerald giants were created by a natural disaster, approximately 1.5 million years ago. Half of the East Molokai volcano just fell into the ocean, forming a 40-mile-long rubble field that probably caused a huge tsunami. What makes these cliffs even more remarkable is the isolated Kalaupapa Plateau perched on the ledge. The cliffs are so tall and sheer that clouds cling to their faces, while waterfalls plunge directly into the ocean without ever touching the rock walls. Standing at their base by boat, you feel insignificant, like gazing up at nature's own skyscraper. Fact 15. Giant landslide and a hidden lake. Molokai's massive cliff collapse didn't just leave behind towering walls, it also created one of nature's most bizarre features. Kuahakua crater on the Kalaupapa Peninsula. This crater is home to a lake so deep, it seems to defy logic. The lake plunges over 800 feet down, yet the crater rim is only 500 feet above sea level. That means the lake's bottom extends far below the nearby ocean surface, creating what's essentially a volcanic well filled with mysterious water. The lake is connected to the Pacific through hidden underground tunnels, which creates strange layers of water that never mix. Scientists call this meromictic. The deeper you go, the saltier and more oxygen-deprived the water becomes. like a trapped inland sea. Here's the surreal part. On a peninsula shaped by volcanic eruptions, just a stone's throw from the Pacific, lies an 800-foot abyss that most people don't even know about. Fact 14. Ples Home, Halema Umau Lava Lake. Between 2008 and 2018, Kilauea Summit hosted one of the most mesmerizing sights on Earth, a constantly bubbling lava lake inside Halema Umau crater. This glowing cauldron of molten rock bubbled day and night, just a few dozen meters below the crater's rim, occasionally spitting out lava bombs like an angry giant's cooking pot. Visitors could look right over the edge at this 2,000-degree Fahrenheit furnace, the legendary home of the volcano goddess Pele. The lake had wild mood swings, sometimes overflowing the crater, other times mysteriously draining, but it remained active for nearly 10 years. Then, in 2018, a dramatic eruption drained the entire lake in just a few days and caused a massive collapse at the summit. Those who saw the lava lake say it felt like peering into the planet's heart. And here's the ultimate twist. This fiery lake existed exactly where a large freshwater lake once filled the same crater in the 1800s. Fact 13. Summit collapse of 2018. In 2018, Kilauea pulled off a geological magic trick that left scientists speechless. It made its own summit disappear. After the famous lava lake drained away, Halema Umau crater's floor simply gave up and plummeted 1,600 feet downward in a matter of weeks. The crater expanded to 4 times its original size as the ground collapsed over an emptying magma chamber below, generating daily magnitude 5.3 earthquakes that shook the entire island. What had been a manageable pit crater transformed into a massive chasm, over a mile wide and 1,600 feet deep, with sheer walls where flat ground once existed. It was like watching the Earth eat itself and fast forward. Miraculously, nobody was hurt since the national park had been evacuated, though roads, overlooks, and buildings were thoroughly demolished. Visitors today gaze into this massive, expanded caldera with awe, seeing firsthand how a volcano can reshape Hawaii's land almost overnight. Fact 12. Fire and ice on Mauna Kea. Here's something that'll blow your mind. Tropical Hawaii once had real glaciers. About 20,000 years ago, Mauna Kea summit was covered by ice over 300 feet thick, basically turning Hawaii into the world's most confusing tropical ski resort. These alpine glaciers left behind moraines and polished rocks, like frozen remnants of an ice age. As the climate warmed, the glaciers melted, possibly leaving Lake Waiau as their final trace. Even crazier, scientists have found fossils of extinct Hawaiian geese up there, hinting that the summit once had a much cooler, different ecosystem. Mauna Kea literally means white mountain because of the snow it still gets. But who knew it was once shaped by real glacial ice? So next time, or if you're ever at the chilly summit of Mauna Kea, just remember, 20,000 years ago, you could have been standing on a glacier in paradise. Fact 11. The Rainbow State. Scientists recently found that Hawaii is the best place on Earth to see rainbows, so the nickname Rainbow State wasn't given by chance. The secret? Almost every day, perfect rainbow conditions are created by plenty of sunshine, frequent rain showers, and clean tropical air. As trade wind showers move across the sunny coastlines, they paint brilliant, multicolored rainbows in the sky regularly. Double rainbows are so common, and if you're lucky, you might even catch a rare moonbow, a ghostly rainbow glowing in the moonlight. In Hawaiian culture, rainbows, a nunu, are seen as celestial pathways between worlds. On Oahu, there's even a place locals call Rainbomb, because rainbows appear there so predictably. Hawaii's rainbows are such a regular sight that locals barely notice them anymore, from the misty waterfalls of Kauai to the ocean spray hitting the rocks along the coast. Fact 10. Exploding Island Lost. Here's a story that sounds like something out of a magic show. In October 2018, Hurricane Walaka literally made an entire Hawaiian island disappear overnight. Poof! East Island, an 11-acre strip of sand in French Frigate Shoals, got completely erased by this Category 5 monster. One day it was there, the next day it was fish food. This was no ordinary sandbar either. East Island was vital property for endangered monk seals and Hawaiian green sea turtles, whose maternity ward was washed away without warning. A sad reminder of severe weather and sea level rise, satellite photos documented the entire disappearance. While Mother Nature might eventually rebuild the island with new coral debris and sand deposits, watching an entire piece of a US state get deleted by a hurricane was definitely not on anyone's 2018 bingo card. Fact 9. Ancient mega tsunami. Hawaii's geologic history holds signs of truly catastrophic destruction. Around 120,000 years ago, part of Mauna Loa collapsed in a massive landslide known as Alitude landslide, sending a mega tsunami nearly 1,600 feet high. Think of a giant wall of water taller than a skyscraper racing across the Pacific. How do we know this happened? Geologists found marine fossils and coral fragments high in Kohala's mountains, 1,600 feet above the current sea level, all dating back to that time. Similar coral boulders on Lanai and Molokai tell the same chilling tale. To put it in perspective, a wave 1,600 feet tall would completely submerge all of Honolulu's skyscrapers and dwarf the Empire State Building. In just a few minutes, this massive wave reshaped coastlines and surged miles inland. Luckily, these mega tsunamis are incredibly rare, only occurring once every 100,000 years, typically due to asteroid impacts or large landslides. Fact 8. Mauna Kea, taller than Everest. Plot twist, the world's tallest mountain isn't in the Himalayas. It's right here in Hawaii. Mauna Kea measures a whopping 33,500 feet from seafloor to summit, making it roughly 4,000 feet taller than Mount Everest. Sure, only 13,803 feet poke above sea level, but there's another 19,700 feet of mountain lurking beneath the Pacific, like a geological iceberg. If you could magically drain the ocean and measure base to peak, Mauna Kea would absolutely crush Everest in a height contest. No wonder the air feels thin at those summit observatories. You're literally standing on top of Earth's biggest mountain with half the atmosphere below your feet. Fact 7. Mauna Loa, mother of mountains. Meet Mauna Loa, the Big Island's massive giant and the largest active volcano on Earth by volume. This colossal mountain covers 51% of the Big Island and holds about 75,000 cubic kilometers of volcanic rock, so heavy that it actually bends Earth's crust down by several kilometers. If you removed Mauna Loa's weight, the seafloor would actually bounce back like a trampoline. Rising 30,000 feet from the ocean floor to its 13,679-foot summit, Mauna Loa erupted as recently as 2022. From its peak, you can see over a dozen other volcanoes stretching out to the horizon. It's the heavyweight champion of volcanoes. So massive, it literally warps the earth beneath it. Fact 6. Niao, the Forbidden Island. Imagine an island where life has barely changed since the 1800s. That's Niao. This small island, just 17 miles from the busy island of Kauai, feels like it's frozen in time. With only around 70 native Hawaiian residents, Niao has been privately owned by the same family since 1864. There are no paved roads, no modern conveniences, and definitely no tourists unless they have special permission. It's also known as the Forbidden Isle because it's so isolated. On the island, people still speak Hawaiian as their primary language, and everything moves at a slow, old-fashioned pace. Perfect for anyone wanting a true escape from the modern world. Fact 5. A new island brewing. Hawaii's next island is already under construction. Meet Kama Ihuakana Aloha, formerly Loa High Seamount, an active submarine volcano brewing about 20 miles southeast of the Big Island. This underwater mountain rises 10,000 feet from the seafloor, but still sits 3,000 plus feet below the surface. Like a skyscraper that hasn't quite broken ground yet. It has erupted 5 times in the last 150 years, with the most recent time being in 1996. And here's the scary part. It keeps growing with each volcanic burp. Give it tens of thousands of years and Kamaehu will pop above the waves as Hawaii's newest island. For now, it's a mysterious realm of pillow lavas and hydrothermal vents, visited only by research subs and legendary Hawaiian dragon gods. One day, surfers might catch waves on beaches that currently exist only on sonar maps. Fact 4. Largest protected dark skies. As we mentioned, Hawaii offers some of Earth's most spectacular stargazing, thanks to incredible isolation and strict light pollution controls. Remote Niihau and the northwestern Hawaiian Islands have virtually zero artificial light for hundreds of miles, creating skies so dark they're almost prehistoric. The Big Island's Mauna Kea and Maui's Halakalas enforce tough lighting laws to protect their world-class observatories, using only fully shielded lights in specific LED wavelengths. On a clear, moonless night on top of these volcanic peaks, the Milky Way blazes overhead in great detail. You literally feel like you're floating in space. Hawaii Volcanoes National Park even earned International Dark Sky Park status. Fact 3. Ahead of the White House. Here's a fact that'll flip your understanding of 19th century Hawaii. Honolulu's Iolani Palace wasn't just America's only official royal residence. It was also more technologically advanced than the White House. Built in 1882 by King Kalakaua, this palace was essentially the Silicon Valley of its era. By 1887, it had 325 incandescent light bulbs illuminating its 104 rooms, complete with indoor plumbing and telephones throughout. The kicker? This was years before the White House got electricity. While President Benjamin Harrison was still fumbling around Washington, D.C. by candlelight, Hawaiian royalty were flipping light switches and making phone calls in paradise. Iolani Palace had all these modern conveniences before even Buckingham Palace caught up. Talk about island innovation. Hawaii's last king was living in the future while the rest of the world was stuck in the past. Fact 2. America's true southernmost point, where Hawaii all began. Think Key West is America's southernmost point? Think again. Kale, meaning the point on Hawaii's Big Island, actually holds that honor, beating Florida by about 1,000 miles. This windswept, desolate cape is so ridiculously windy that the trees grow almost horizontally, bent into permanent submission by relentless trade winds. However, Kale is more than just a geographical record. It represents the actual starting point of Hawaiian history. This rocky area is thought to have been the cradle of Hawaiian culture, as it was here that the first Polynesian people arrived circa 750 AD. The remains of these early residents' Hawaiian temples and canoe mooring holes carved into the rocky ledges are still visible. Today, cliff jumpers and explorers are drawn to Kale because of its untamed beauty. It is America's real edge, the beginning of all things Hawaiian. Fact 1. No huge predators. Hawaii's isolated environment developed without any natural land predators, which shaped a unique ecosystem. There were no snakes, big cats, or wolves, leaving the native species free to evolve in peace. The only native land mammal is the Hawaiian Ori bat, which is one of the few mammals adapted to the islands. Without predators to worry about, Hawaii's birds flourished, and some even lost the ability to fly, such as the now extinct flightless bird, the moho brachytis. However, the lack of predators meant that Hawaiian species had no natural defenses against introduced species. The ecosystem is highly sensitive, and invasive species, such as rats, mongoose, and invasive plants, pose a huge threat. They can completely alter the delicate balance of Hawaii's habitats, pushing native species to the brink of extinction. For example, the introduction of the mongoose to control rats backfired, as mongooses began preying on ground-nesting birds, contributing to their decline. This fragile balance highlights the vulnerability of isolated ecosystems, the complex consequences of introducing new species. What about 50 African geography facts that seem fake but are 100% real?